Talking about automation this morning, in Ableton Live, there's a couple places where you can do automation, and it's important to know to start off that automation does not work the same way as automation in Pro Tools or Logic. It's kind of the same. But in Pro Tools, for example, when you do automation, unless you change that automation, you can't move any of the parameters you've automated. So for example, if I move my fader level and I have automation on the fader level, when I move it, it's going to snap back to the automation lane. So it's going to follow that automation no matter what until I change the automation. So the only way to change that fader level is to actually change the automation. With Ableton Live, it doesn't work like that because Live was designed from the ground up to be used on a stage. So the way they design the automation in Live is that if you have an automation going on a parameter like volume, if you change that parameter, it's going to deactivate the automation until you reactivate the automation. Okay, so let me just show you what I mean by that. Let's say we have a drum beat. Oh, and I still don't have my hard drive. Okay, well, whatever. Let's say we've got. Let's make a little drum loop real quick. We'll use. Let's use a 606. Dog is chilling. And we're gonna do this over here like this. Put this into Ableton Live mode, and let's just, yeah. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and hit record in here. Oh, let's put on my quantize so I don't have to worry about it today. There you go. Okay, so I have this. Now, if I want to put automation on this, let me move this into my arrangement view. And all this stuff is pretty the same as in Pro Tools or Logic or whatever. So I got this right here. And if I want to put this in automation mode, I hit the A key. Now make sure that your keyboard is off, because if this keyboard is on and you hit A, it's going to trigger the C key on like a MIDI keyboard. So make sure that this is off. And I hit A and it puts it into automation mode, and I can go over here and I click on my track volume. That's how I can choose what I want to automate. I just click on it and it changes my automation here. And I go over here, I'm just going to program in some automation. I'm just going to go over here and put some automation in. You don't even have to use a pencil tool or nothing. You can just click and drag and move the points around like this. There we go. So we got this here. So let's listen to this. You can hear that going away. Okay, just turn my loop on. So I have this. I can put some curves in here by holding down Option on a Mac. And I got the curves. So I can curve it up, right? Now, here's the thing though. You can see my fader is going up and down right here, and you can see there's a little red dot on it to show that it's been automated. If I grab this now, watch what happens. The red dot turns gray and it stops doing the automation. And if I go back and look at my other screen here, we can see the automation lanes are grayed out. So we can see the automation lanes are there, but they're not being used. It's deactivated, okay? And this is kind of cool because if I decide, you know what, I want it to go down to a certain point, I can just move this to that point right there. It's a little bit hard because I've got this, I'm zoomed in. There we go. I can set it right there. So now it'll just go to that point. Now, how do I reactivate that automation? What I do is I go up here, and you see this little arrow right here. This is your back to automation arrow. And what this does is it reactivates your automation. So anything that I've added automation to in Ableton Live, any parameter, if I change that parameter by hand, it's going to override the automation just for that one automation parameter. It doesn't override all the automation. It just overrides that one automation parameter, and it turns it gray here on the screen. And so if I want to reactivate it, I can make some changes to it, I can do some stuff. And if I want to reactivate it, I hit this little arrow here, which if you look down here in the information view, it's your back to, or sorry, re-enable automation. Okay, so this re-enables, if you read it down at the bottom corner there, it re-enables the automation for any parameters that are currently overridden in the arrangement or in session clips. Note that this button is only active if you have manually adjusted a parameter that is automated. So it's not going to be on all the time, it's not on right now, but if I click and grab the level here, watch what happens. That line is going to turn gray. Boop, see that line turned gray, and now I see a dotted line where I moved my automation to. So that's how that works. And so we want to make sure that if you see this little button up here, it means that somehow, somewhere, some automation got deactivated. So if you ever see this button open and you don't know why it's on, and you're like, I didn't mean to do that or whatever, just click it and it'll go back to your automation that you have programmed in there. Okay, so just like in Pro Tools or Logic, you can do the automation by hand. You can do it like I did here by hand, or you can record it in. And so I'll show you how to do that as well. So let me go ahead and highlight all this automation. I'm going to make this bigger here. Zoom in on it. There we go. Get rid of this over here, so we can see what's going on. If I want to delete this automation, I can go through and I can delete it point by point. If I want to, I can just click on the point. I can hold down, well, I don't have to hold down anything. If I want to add a point in, I just click and add a point. It just adds it in automatically for me. And I just click the point again to get rid of it. I can also move my points around like this. It's moving it by the grid. I can turn the grid off by holding down Command. Now, one thing with this is that if you move through a point, it does like what Logic does. It'll get rid of that point. If you keep the grid on, it'll snap to the point there, but you can push through it to kind of get rid of that point. So this is pretty cool, but it's also can be a little bit frustrating sometimes if you don't want to get rid of a point like that. So you have to be a little bit careful with how that works. But if I want to get rid of these points, I can do that. Or if I want to get rid of multiple points, you can probably guess, I can highlight everything in here and hit delete. And there we go. Now it's got rid of all those points. And so the line is just kind of a grayed out, it's just a dotted line here. And if I move it up and down, it's dotted. And the reason why it's dotted is because that's showing me that I don't actually have any automation going on at all. Okay, so that's that right there. Now, if I want to record the automation in on my controller, my, let's see, that's the pan. This one here is my level. There we go. So I've got my level right here. I'm just turning a knob on my keyboard. Check this out. I'm turning this knob right here on my keyboard, and it's adjusting my level right there. This one here is my pan. And you can see that when I turn the knob, it actually adjusts the, wait, wrong one. Sorry. This is my pan, and this here is my level. And you can see that when I turn the knob, it actually changes what parameter I'm controlling. So you can see there's several different parameters on this drum kit down there, and I'm just moving them by turning these knobs here. So this is how easy it is to do automation in Ableton Live. You don't even have to really, you don't have to like look at any drop-down lists like you do in Logic and Pro Tools. You can literally just turn the knob and it shows you the automation there and just automatically goes to it. Now, perhaps in Logic they're doing the same thing nowadays. I don't really use Logic enough. I don't do a lot of automation in Logic. So it's perhaps that Logic is now when you turn a knob, it just automatically goes to that automation point. That would be a smart way to do it. Anything that I click on will change what I'm looking at in my automation view up on my main screen. So that makes it super, super easy to make adjustments to my automation. You don't even really have to do anything. You just have to click on it and just use it, and it will automatically make that adjustment for you. It'll change what you're looking at here. So if I want to go ahead and put in some, let's put in some volume automation here. So I'm turning the knob here, and if I want to get that to record, all I have to do is just have the track right there, and I hit the automation button here, and I hit the record button here. Now, when you do it this way, there's a couple ways you can do automation in Ableton Live. This is the way I recommend doing it. And you want to keep your record arm turned off, because if I hit record arm in here and I hit record up here, it's going to record over the MIDI data that's in that track. So I don't want to do that. So I want to make sure I keep the record button, the record arm off on the track. And I just make sure I've got my automation record arm right here. And I'm just going to hit the record button for my arrangement view. Cool. And now it's recorded in there. And so I just go over here. Let me just move that back up. There we go. I can hit Command Z to undo that last little bit there. And now it's got all my automation data in there. Now I believe I saw something where I can actually simplify the envelope in here. And if you simplify the envelope, what it will do is it'll get rid of all of these little points here and it'll just turn them into curves. So all I do is highlight what I want to simplify. I right click and I go simplify envelope right there, boom, and you can see it just puts it into just basic curves, which I love because I hate looking at all those points. It drives me nuts to look at all those points. It's also harder to edit. I think in here, yeah, this edit simplify envelope, I'm actually going to assign that to one of my keyboard shortcuts. I gotta figure out which one I'm gonna assign it to though. Yeah, because that's a big one. Maybe I'll make that Command Shift E. Is Command Shift E already a shortcut? I don't think so. Yep. Cool. Oh, there it is. Command Shift E is export MIDI clip. Command Option E. That's oh, okay. Huh. Full screen MIDI. Interesting. Full screen clip. Oh, okay. Yeah, because they've added a few new shortcuts in here. Maybe Alt Option E. Or sorry, Option Shift E. Oh, I'll do Option Shift E. Okay, cool. So in here, and I can assign that to a shortcut by using. You could do that actually. Here, let me just show you all that real quick. That's actually really cool. It's a Mac thing. We can go in here, and I can go to System Preferences, and go to my keyboard in here, and you can go to Shortcuts, and we'll go to let's see here, App Shortcuts, and add one in here. We'll do Ableton Live, this beta, hit this one, and in here, I'm not sure if it'll work. We'll call it. You have to add it in, like you have to put it in like directly what it says. So for example, we have to do change the shortcut. Click the key combination and click type new keys. You have to add in exactly into the name. Exact name of the menu command you want to add, and it's called, what is it called in Ableton Live? It was called edit under simplify envelope, right? So let's go ahead and go back to that. So just add in this and add in simplify envelope. Go over here to Ableton Live, boom. Keyboard shortcut is Shift Option E. Hit add, and now it's going to show up down here. And if we go in here, let's go back. Let's back that up, and it didn't work. All right, I have to figure it out. It might be because I'm using this beta here. So, and I also use keyboard keyboard maestro right here, and this will allow me to add edits and stuff like that too. So, I recommend setting up keyboard shortcuts when you can, once you start using this stuff enough, especially if there's not a shortcut set up for it. So there may be another keyboard shortcut that's actually overriding this in the Mac OS. So I'll have to look at that a little bit later. But that's how we can do that. And let's go over here to the end. Let's just simplify that. There we go. Where'd you go? There you go, simplify envelope. Okay, so over here at the end, I can take this and drag it up here to that level there so it comes back in. It doesn't have like a weird like jump or anything like that. There we go. Boom. So now if we listen to it, Cool. Right. So there you go. And we could add in any kind of other stuff on top of that. I'm just going to go over here. I'm going to hit the record button and go. And we're going to do panning. Nice. And cool. Clear that envelope out. Simplify it. And I'm just going to go over here to the end. I'm going to put it back so it comes back up to the center here. Cool. Like that. And there we go. We've got a nice little envelope going on there. This is our automation. So it's like automation, but they also call it envelopes, okay? And we're going to talk about clip envelopes here in just a minute. So right now, though, we're doing everything inside the arrangement view. So let me go ahead, turn that loop off. And I'm going to go ahead and drag this over and make it loop. Now, you'll see that as I loop it, the automation does not follow it because this automation is part of the arrangement view. And it's not going to loop the automation as I loop the clip right here. But if I do this, if I highlight it and I hit Command D, it's going to copy that loop over with the automation that's in there, just like it would in Pro Tools or Logic. But if I want to go ahead and make it so it doesn't copy the automation over, I can just duplicate it without the automation. I can hit this little button right here, and this is the Lock Envelopes button. There you go. That's going to lock my envelopes right there. It's called Lock Envelopes. And what happens is when it's locked like this, now when I duplicate the clip, it's going to duplicate just the clip, just the MIDI data, and not the automation that's inside of it. Okay, so that's what the Lock Envelopes button does, and it basically it's to make it safe so you don't accidentally move automation around. Now I have mine set up so that shortcut is just the slash key, backslash or question mark key, and that's going to turn that on and off. So you can see I can just click that key and it turns that on and off, which is a shortcut that I set up in here, which we'll talk about today. We'll talk about setting up shortcuts. So if I want to, though, I've got my lock automations turned off, so the envelopes will move around, and I hit Command D, and there we go, and it just moves it over. So I can see all that happening. Are you able to separate the automation from the clip? Yeah, you can. You just go ahead, I think, click that and move. Actually, that's a good question because I'm thinking like Pro Tools right now. Let's see if we can. Can we move this? There we go. You just drag and move it over. Cool. We could probably hold Option down. So all I do is I just highlight it, mouse over it, and whoops, not Option. Oh, we can't. Wait, hold on. Option. Let's move. Let's grab that. Let's see. Yeah. If you hold Option, let's see. How do I do that? I never do that. So how did I do that? You got to click and drag in the correct place and be very careful with it. Yeah. So you can do it. You just have to make sure you click where it's all highlighted like that and drag it over. And if you hold down Shift while you're dragging it, it won't move it up and down. It will only move it left and right. It basically locks it to its position there. So yeah, you could do that. Let's see, can I move it over? But if you hold Option, you can't do it. So basically, you can move it over, but you have to copy and paste it back into itself. So, weird. I've never tried to do that before here. I've never even thought about it because I don't know. I don't know why. Yeah, interesting. So, yeah, apparently you can do that. Great. All right. So we have that there, and that's all well and good. But let's go ahead and let me delete all this. And I just delete it. You can actually right click on it and go clear envelope. You can also, if you have a whole bunch of automation data in something, you can also click on the parameter that you want to delete the automation and hit Command Delete, and it will delete the automation off of there. And so Ableton Live, it's weird because they have this automation arm button and this automation re-enable automation, but everything is actually called envelopes. So oddly enough, they call it automation. Oh, I remember how yeah, I'm going to come back to your question, Roman, here in just a second. But they call it automation, and they call it delete automation, but then they also call it envelope. So they're using two different terms for it, which is kind of weird. It's like at some point some wires got crossed. I remember how I move automation just by itself. You can go down here, and whatever you've got, whatever you're showing up here, you can click the plus button here, and this gives you a new envelope lane. So now I can highlight this and copy and paste that over like that. That's how you do that. I don't know why I didn't just say that in the first place. I just forgot about that. Yeah, so you got your automation lanes down here. So if I got my automation lane for my panning, and I make another automation lane for my volume here, I can grab these and copy and paste and move these over. So now these are kind of hanging out by themselves. They're not actually part of a clip. They're here by themselves, and I can highlight, copy, and paste like that. And that's how I do a lot of my automation editing, especially if I'm doing DJ mixes. I keep my lanes open like this to show what's going on there. So that's that. And this is how we do automation in this view here, in the arrangement view. Now I'm going to delete all this, and we're going to go over here. Let's put the volume at 0, and then 0. I'm going to turn it down a little bit, actually. All right, cool. So there it is, right in the middle, back to normal. Now let's go ahead and click on this. I'm going to double click on this clip. I'm going to turn my automation off up top, and we're going to go down here to the bottom. And in the clip view down here, we're going to talk about automation down here, or the clip envelopes. Now the clip envelopes are the same as automation in the arrangement view, but the clip envelopes it's automation that loops with the clip itself. So we can see here that this clip is a 1-bar clip, and we can see that it loops 4 times. So you can see right here, it's kind of hard to see, but if I mouse over here, you can see that right there, that's where the clip loops. Okay. If I close this down, you can see that little line there. There it is, there it is. There's the loop, right? So we can see that this clip actually has 1, 2, 3, 4 loops happening. If I push play on this, I got my loop turned on up top. We can see this here is what's looping. It's looping this clip right here. What I can do is I can put automation into this clip so it will loop with this up here. So let's go down here to envelopes. And we could do this in a couple different ways. Let's go to the panning mixer and panning here, track pan. Boom. And we can see this if I put this in. Let's go ahead and draw some automation in. Like this. This. Let's put a shape in here. I'm going to right click and choose a shape. There we go. And I'm just going to duplicate that. There we go. Boom. Makes it easier. Now if you've got headphones on, you can hear how that's going back and forth. Right? If I want to do the same thing with my volume, track volume here, boom. And let's go ahead and highlight that again. I'm going to highlight it and right click and choose a shape. Let's choose, actually, let's not highlight the whole thing. Let's just highlight this one here. I'm going to right click and choose a shape like this. And now I'm going to duplicate that shape. And you can hear it's kind of going up and down there. Like level wise it's happening. It's going up and down. Now I'm going to go ahead and draw in some automation here. There we go. Boom. Cool. So we can hear it's going back and forth between my left and my right ears, and the volume level is going up and down here. Now you can see this line here is blue. When I did it up here, it was red. The red lines and the blue lines are different things. They mean different things. The blue lines are a percentage. These are relative. The red lines are absolute. Now, unfortunately, Ableton Live hasn't added relative automation into this main track up here. It's a little bit unfortunate because relative automation is super dope. What that means is that if I'm doing automation stuff on a track, like fades and stuff over time, not clip automation, but if I'm doing track automation, I'm actually going to use my utility tool for volume automation because I like to keep things relative, and I like to use my track fader level here for overall changes to the overall level. But if I'm doing fades and stuff like that, I use my trim. I use my utility, not trim. Trim is Pro Tools. I use my utility plugin in Ableton Live. So with Logic, you don't have to use a separate plugin for that because Logic out of the box has relative and absolute automation. And we could talk a little bit more about that if we go over some Logic stuff. That would be something to talk about with Logic. But right now I'm going to move on and not worry about it too much. But what this is, this blue line here, is relative automation. What that means is it's for my track volume here. But if I mouse over it, it says 100%. So that is 100% of whatever this level is over here. This level right here is at minus 5 dB. So the 100% is going to be minus 5 dB. And if this one here is set for 76%, that's going to be minus, I don't know, 10 dB. I'm not sure what it actually equals up to, but it's like 76%. It doesn't matter what actual number it equals to. It just matters what it sounds like, right? Because we're not worried about what it looks like. We're worried about what it sounds like. So if we listen, that sounds pretty cool to me. Now I can go back over here to my track panning. Let's go ahead and get rid of this. Clear envelope right there. I can just hit Command Delete and it will delete it. So there we go. There's that. Let's go ahead and grab a different drum kit over here. And let's see what we got. Okay, let's put this one in here. And okay, I'm going to use this one. The reason I'm using this one is because it's got lots of information and it's pretty good. So I'm just going to hit go on there, record. Cool. So let's put an auto filter on here. And now this auto filter okay, so I've got everything in my session view here. I've got my hi-hat is playing from my arrangement view, but my my snare and my kick are playing from my session view here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to put in some automation for the auto filter right there. Automation clip envelopes. Here's this clip envelope for my automation. And I'm going to go here to this one here. Yeah, let's do modulation. And so we can click the button here to go between modulation and automation. Automation is going to show up in my arrangement view if I copy and paste it over. So let me just show you that. Let's go ahead and put this in. Let's go ahead and do this. And I'm going to move this up like that. Boom. And let's put this down here. I'm just going to click in some stuff like this. Cool. And we're going to go ahead and get rid of some of these points just so it has like a flip to it. And you can hear it real easily. There we go. Oops. Come on, come on. There we go. There we go. And we'll go up here and come back down. And come back up. This, cool. Cool, cool, cool. All right, so. Cool, I'm gonna put a EQ EQ8 on here to get rid of all these low frequencies. There we go. Get rid of some of those low frequencies. Okay, so now I've got this automation happening. You can see the dot is red. Okay, and that means it's actual automation. So if I copy this over, I'm going to hit Command C, Command V, over here, Command V, boom. When I copy this over and I look at it, if I hit A, it's going to show me that my automation is in here, and it's in red, which means that it's an automation thing. So if I highlight this, if I do a loop on it, the automation is not there. What I'd have to do is I have to do this in Command D to do that. So I can't just drag it over. Let's say though that I wanted to, let's undo all that. Let me go back over here, go to my automation. Let's see, can I copy and paste this over to my modulation? Yeah, I can copy and paste it over. I'm going to get rid of my automation in here. So now it's set up as modulation. Now the modulation, remember, this is a percentage of our 0 point here. So there's our percentage right there. Let's hit play. So if I go back over here to my actual this, okay, so you can see this is it's interesting because it's showing it up as interesting. I feel like either I haven't been paying attention to it recently, or they've changed something in here. That's 0%. And that's, oh, okay, whatever. So it's going up and down, above and below the, here, if we look, check this out. It's going above it, but it's all relative to where that line is. So I set up that line. It's not 100%, it's actually 0% down, negative, and positive. So I have this here. Now, if I go ahead and copy and paste this in over here, watch what happens. It doesn't actually show any automation in here. But if I highlight this and if I loop it over, it's going to follow the loop. So I can loop this out forever and ever and ever. Let's just grab these and loop them out. Like that. And it's going to keep the envelopes going because they're relative envelopes. They're not automation in here. Yeah, there we go. They're not automation in here. They're actually envelopes inside the clip. So if I want to see them, I go into the clip and I click on this envelope here. There we go, boom. And now we can see what it is. Now, in this view over here, it doesn't have the buttons for automation or modulation like it does over here. See that the buttons were added in here, automation versus modulation. The reason why is because automation in this view here, so you can see that's disappearing and reappearing. This arrangement view, if you're looking at automation, it's actually on the track itself. And if you're looking at modulation, it's in the clip itself. And if you go to this view here, it can be automation, which is putting it onto the track, and you can have it as modulation, which is in the clip. Now, it's a little bit confusing, I know, I understand that. Just remember that anything that's actually called automation, then it's going to be on the track. It's going to be written into the track itself. And it's going to take you a second to get used to it because it's weird. It's not like anything else. But I think you'll find after you start playing with it that it's actually very, very, very useful, especially when you're programming in some really cool stuff. Like let's say you've got this filter loop here, which I really like this filter loop. I think it's really cool. Well, what I would do is I can take this and I can just loop it out over here, and it's just going to follow my clip because it's modulation. It's not automation, and the automation will go in here into the track itself. So I would have to hit Command D, or I'd have to make sure I'm copying my automation over. So you have to be a little bit aware of that stuff, and it's nice that they've added in these two buttons here. I don't know when they actually added those in. I feel like this may be a Live 11 thing, but maybe I just wasn't really paying attention in Live 10 to that. I'd be curious to look that up and see when they actually made that change. So that's your envelopes and your automation. Let's go ahead and take another look at this real quick. I'm going to go ahead and hit play on this. So we have this automation lane here. Let's go ahead and unlink it. Now, this is really cool, but it's also, this is where things get kind of weird. Things get a bit confusing. The clip itself is 2 bars long. Okay, so we can see it's 2 bars long because we can see up here it says 8 beats, that's 2 bars. We can go down here and we can see there's 1 bar, 1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, and here's 2 bars, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4. So that's 2 bars long. We can also go over here and look at the clip on the left-hand side and see right there the length is 2. Okay, so the clip is 2 bars long. But what if I just want just this part right here to loop? Well, I could Command D, I could duplicate it. It'll sound like this. Right, that sounds different from what it was a second ago. Right, but what if I want it to loop like that? Well, I don't have to Command D to duplicate it over. That's kind of like, you could do that, but let's do something else. So what we can do is when we're clicked on the automation parameter, the correct automation parameter, because this is independent for each parameter, we can unlink it right here, unlink. So you click this linked button and click it, boom. Now, what this does is it detaches the length of my parameter loop from the clip loop length itself. The clip length is 2 bars. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make this parameter be just 1 beat. So now it's going to loop this part of the clip right here, this part of the automation, but it's going to play the actual MIDI from the actual clip itself. Let's listen to that. Now what's cool about this is if I have a bunch of different automation on here, I can actually maneuver through this and find different parts that work for me. Yeah, it's super cool. And you can hear how it sounds pretty cool. Now, if I wanted to, I could record this over here. Let's call this one beat filter loop and bounce. There we go. Let's grab audio from that drum kit there. Boom. Make sure it's post effects. Hit record. Now I'm going to go in here. Turn this off. All right, cool. So now I've got that. I could stop this one from playing, and I could. And you're going to hear it's going to shift right here. And that's a cool little 4-bar loop, actually. I've got that right there. Boom. Cool. There's a little 4-bar loop. Okay. Now, so that's one thing we can do with that. I like to use it for various things, like just if I have like a little automation thing that I'm doing, and I just want that to loop over and over again, or if you want to offset the automation, so the automation is doing different stuff from what the clip is doing. Let's go ahead and stop this. Play this one. Okay. It also works really good for your loops, like audio loops. Let's go ahead and grab a loop in here. I'm going to go to my samples and grab a loop. What kind of loop do we have? Let's go a bongo loop. What is that? It can't be played. Okay. That KD, whatever the KD thing is, I'm not sure where that came from. Okay, that sounds... Let's grab this. Here, let's do that. There it is right there. Okay, cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab this part of it that's like fatter, like bigger. Okay, cool. So we have that right there. Let's put a filter on there. Audio effects, auto filter, boom. So we got this filter on here. Okay, cool. So let's record a little bit of that in there. So I'm going to hit record on this one here. Yeah, definitely not producing psytrance. No. That's funny. So I've got this in here. We've got a little acid bass line. And our filter is right here. So we can click on this. And let's go ahead and simplify that. There we go. Now, what we can do is I can unlink it. Click on the link button here. And you'll see the thing I hate about this when you unlink it is it disappears the MIDI or the audio waveform. Unfortunately, it makes that all disappear. So you can't really see what you're doing with it. You have to kind of just earball it and listen for what's happening. So I'm going to grab it. I'm going to move it like this. And let's do like this. I'm going to adjust this. And you can adjust this and move it around. And you can hear how it changes that up entirely. So that's what's really cool about disconnecting the envelope loops from the actual clip loop. So that's linking. That's this thing over here called link and unlink right down here. Okay, link and unlink right there. And we can adjust the length of the loop right here, whatever you want to do. And the only other thing to keep in mind about this to remember is that it's independent for each parameter. So for example, if I go over here and I put the, go into clip, and I'm going to go to the, not clip, I'm going to go to mixer, and I'm going to go to track panning like this. And this one here can be unlinked. I'm going to draw it in. Let's unlink it for the modulation here. And we'll do like this. I'm just going to go ahead and do this. Let's move it back like that, and that's down like this, and we'll put like a little curve on it, whatever. And let's loop this like this. Boom. So now we can do that with it. We can make it so it changes around. There we go, make it a bit smoother. And you can hear how it shifts between your ears over time. Let's put a kick drum in there, shall we? Oh, I got my drum. using 909, kick drum. Oops. There we go. We want to make a psytrance, right? It has to be like 130 BPM. There we go. There's some psytrance for you, Barb. All right. So these things here take time to get used to, and they take time to really master. But this is how, like, all the cool things you can do with automation inside of Ableton Live. There's really cool stuff you can do with automation envelopes inside of Ableton Live, but it does take a moment to really kind of lock in what it is, how you do it, and that kind of stuff there. So this is the kind of starting point for all that. We've actually gone over pretty much everything that you can do with it, most of the stuff. But you just got to get in there and use it. And remember, just to kind of recap everything, there are yeah, it's super dope, right? There's a couple things you can do with it. Remember, you've got the absolute automation, which is called automation. You've got the relative automation, which is called modulation. You got the automation that goes on the track here, which is automation. It goes into the arrangement view in here. And then you've got the clip envelopes. The clip envelopes can be either automation, absolute, or modulation, relative. When it's relative, you can still adjust that parameter because everything works as a percentage of that. So, for example, if we go over here to this one and I go into my, if I go into my filter, well, the filter is absolute here. Let's change this to, hold on, let's click on that filter. There we go. See this one here, if I want to make this into a modulation, here, let's make this into modulation. So I'm just going to highlight all this, hit Command C, and put this in modulation, and turn off the link. There we go. And where was it? It was starting on 8. Okay, cool. Go in here, hit Command V to paste it in. It goes in like that. And what do we have for this? We had 1.1 starting over there. Because now that I've like arranged it like this, it's going to be a little bit off. So let's change this to 0.1.1. There we go. Move this over here like this. I'm going to go in here to my automation. I'm going to delete this automation, clear envelope. Go in here to my modulation here. Okay, so we can hear in here, it's a little bit high up. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead. There we go. Mess around with that, and I can go in here to my view again, and here you can see it changed because I clicked on a different one. But if I click on it, it pulls up my list, and it shows me my the dot next to whatever I've got automated here. You can move the start point around. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to pull this one up a little bit. There we go. And pull this one up. There we go. Curve it by using the Option key. Cool. There you go. Now, when I pull this over to the other one, pull it over here, is my acid base. Copy it in. If I drag it over, right? So there it is. It pulls it in like that. Okay. Now what I can do is, let's go ahead and get rid of this automation that's in here. I'm going to go ahead and show the automation, show the, let's see here. So let's delete that. Go in here, delete it, clear the envelope, boom. Okay, and I can put an automation, a general, like a fade over time into it, like this. So let's say I want to make that come up over time, pull that there, put that there, and we can. So we're using a combination of a few different things here. We're using a combination of this one here has automation in it. The mixer, we can see, we just look for the little dots if you ever forget what you're doing with stuff. Here's our automation that's going on here. This is our modulation. It's a clip envelope. In here, we have track automation happening. In here, we have the modulation again happening that we've unlinked it, so it's doing its own little loop. And over here, we just have a kick drum that's just kind of hanging out. Okay. So that's how we can bring all this stuff kind of together. And this is a track we recorded some stuff that I don't want anymore. Okay. So that's how we can bring all this stuff together for this automation to really make the automation interesting and complex. Okay. So let's see. Let's just go and double check in the notes to make sure we've covered everything in here. Clip envelopes, linked, unlinked. Yep, clip envelope here. Any parameters you've automated will have a red dot. Yes. Clip envelopes, session view, other envelopes, make parameter change on track automation. Some of the stuff is, it does work like this, but you can actually flip it back and forth now. So, arrangement view. Remember, you got the automation drop-down lanes, your automation lanes here. And Live versus Pro Tools. Unlike in Pro Tools, automation is not king in Ableton Live. Automation can be overridden, just adjust the parameter. And to re-enable the written automation, click the Re-enable Automation button. Remember, that is this button right up here. So if I go in here and let's say I've got this one here going on. And I grab my filter in here and I move it. See, that button came on right up there. That button right there came on, and the automation is grayed out. So if I want that to go back to being not grayed out, so it's following it, I click that button there, and there you go. There's that there. Cool. Just kind of show stuff. To perform stuff, automation, arrangement, record button. If you're in the arrangement view, make sure you do not have any tracks record armed. Yeah, you do not want to have any tracks record armed. The way you set this up is over here in the preferences, record, warp, and launch, and record session automation in all tracks. I don't like to use armed tracks. I like to use all tracks. So that way I don't have to worry about arming a track, because arming track, it's kind of weird. It works weirdly from how I expect it to work, so I don't worry about it. Okay. Remember to choose the parameter you want to automate. Click it in the plugin. Just click it. All you have to do is click the parameter you want to automate, and it does it for you automatically. Don't turn on the automation arm button unless you want to record automation. This is like putting your whole thing into write mode. You want to be very careful about that. You do not want to leave it on because it will cause you grief later when you start recording stuff. Automation can be overridden just by slightly adjusting a parameter. Clip envelopes can be unlinked from the length of the audio waveform or for the MIDI clip, and then hold Option to curve an automation line. And that's the overview of your automation stuff. That's all the different automation things in there. It's actually deceptively a lot of stuff, so you want to be really careful about it, and you want to make sure that you pay attention to it. But it's not that hard to do. It's not that hard to learn about. You just gotta devote like a couple of days to it, or a week or something like that. Are you going to teach us how to perform live on Ableton? Not saying now, but eventually. Yeah, we're going to talk about it. We're gonna definitely talk about that. Let me go ahead and let's pause this recording here.